Hello friend, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I wanted to talk to you about how to get started with hand lettering on the iPad Pro. Now, I have a couple of videos already on my channel for specific tutorials on how to use Procreate, and I still get a lot of questions about some different things regarding the iPad Pro and iPad lettering. And so I just wanted to take this video to answer a few of those common questions, like what types of brushes I use and different things like that. So I'm going to show you here, I have both this iPad, which is not an iPad Pro, and then here is my newest version of the iPad Pro. Now, I have been hand lettering on an iPad since I think iPad lettering kind of came out. So my very first iPad Pro was, I think, the original iPad Pro. I got it, I believe, in maybe 2015. I've had it for several years, and I still use that one, but I bought this one to kind of upgrade because I wanted to be able to test out some of the newer features, and it also has a different pencil. So I have two different Apple pencils here, and so this one works with this iPad and then also with my original iPad Pro. And then this one works with my newer iPad Pro. Now, I will leave a link in the description box below for this iPad, and then my original iPad if they even sell it anymore. Sometimes people wonder which specific models I'm using, and I usually don't talk about that in the video because honestly, I'm just not like super confident with my terminology when it comes to technology. I'm afraid I'm going to say the wrong one. So I will link all of those in the description box so that I make sure I don't mess up and don't tell you the wrong thing. Now, one of the main reasons that I use the iPad Pro and the Apple Pencil is to create hand lettering worksheets. Of course, I hand letter it with it myself, but lately I have created a lot of worksheets, and I think that takes a little bit more of my time than actually just practicing my own hand lettering, but that is okay. It's kind of like practice all at once when I'm coming up with new styles and then creating the worksheets for it. So this is a recent one that I have done, and one of the things people ask me about is how I create my hand lettering worksheets. Well, I wish there was like a super simple way to tell you, but I actually create it pretty much all by hand. I draw out the lines, and then I use a dotted brush for the middle, and then I do a lot of copying and pasting once I've created my whole line, and then I'll copy and paste the letters on down. Oops. And then recently you have been able to add text. So if I want to add text to like just this part of it, I don't like add text usually through the middle of my worksheets, but you can add text by choosing the wrench tool and then add text. And you can even import your own fonts into Procreate. I haven't actually done this yet because I have only recently started creating fonts, like typable fonts, and I'm still kind of figuring that out, so I haven't actually put them on my iPad Pro yet, but I will definitely share when I have that process down a little bit more if you guys are interested. And so the next question that I get a lot is what types of brushes are my favorite or which ones I'm using. So I used to always pretty much use one brush. There weren't a ton to purchase, or at least I don't think probably as many as there are now. Now you can go on Etsy and find so many different brushes. So I used to almost always use the free brush from Rad and Happy, and it was like just a brush pen brush. I think it was, I don't remember the name, but it was kind of like a flat style of brush lettering, and I actually had so many problems with that one after I don't know if it was because I was updating Procreate or just the brush was getting outdated, but I had it, I probably got the original one 4 years ago. So anyway, I actually purchased the new version that she made, and I actually still have a decent amount of glitches with using that brush, and I'm not sure if it is just this new iPad or if it's the brush itself, but I do still use it, so I'll show you that one. And I believe it either comes as a set or I purchased it as I think I must have purchased it as a set. And it came with a monoline type of brush. So what I mean by that is that you get one type of thickness no matter how hard you push, versus the brush pen that you get thick downstrokes and thin upstrokes. So those are the brush pen and the mono white pen, but it also comes with this one, which I do enjoy using just for fun. You probably don't see it a lot, but it is kind of a textured brush, and it's a square shape. So if you get too big, or I should say maybe it's a rectangle shape, if you get too big, it can be hard to actually write letters, but let me just show you what it looks like. That is what the stamp looks like by itself. And so This is a really fun brush to use, and this pack is really fun. I get a lot of use out of the brush pen. I will say that with the newer Procreate updates, there is a mono weight pen in the Procreate app itself, so I wouldn't necessarily purchase it just for that one, but I really like that brush pen. And then I have also purchased another flat brush pen, but I don't have that one on this iPad, so if I get the other iPad out, I will show you the other flat brush pen that I have tried. And I just mean flat in that the end kind of stays like that, versus some other brushes that you might use where the end kind of tapers off. Now, I have had questions about how I get the end of my brush pen to stay looking flat like that. If you have ever struggled with this, I hope you understand what I'm talking about. But sometimes when you use these brush pen style brushes in Procreate, what can happen is the end can just cause some problems. I don't know how to describe it. Now, I think the problem sometimes happens when we are continuing our stroke to be thick the whole way down. So if you are ending a stroke like this and you're ending lightly, usually there's not a problem for me. But the problem is, say I'm doing a B and I pick up my pen, sometimes we get this little situation happening. And the way that I prevent that is I just draw back up into my stroke a little bit. So if you can see that, let me try to zoom you in here. So instead of just picking my pen up there, I am going to go all the way down and then just back up a tiny bit. And that usually gives me a nice clean ending to my brush pen where I can continue on to create that B. I hope that makes sense. If you've never struggled with that, that might sound confusing, but I know that I've had people ask me about that before. And then another brush pen that I just think is really fun and worth showing you. I purchased this one on Etsy, and I will link the shop in the description box below. But it comes with all of these brush pens, but the reason that I bought it is because I thought that this would be really fun to create coloring pages or different things like that. And so when you draw, it gives you an outline, and that is what I used to create that font that I made, where it was kind of an outline type of font. So I just want to show you one thing that's kind of tricky about this brush pen or brush, is that when you are creating a word, or if you're drawing or something like that, where you have to cross over, you are going to get overlap in your lines. So one thing you can do, of course, is just to make this really big and try to erase those lines really carefully, and you could probably get that to look pretty great that way. But you can also retrace your word or your letter so that you don't see that overlap. So let's say I have a T. I could really carefully come back up and then cross my T, and I can kind of redo it until I get it the right length, and then I can go back down if I need to. So obviously that isn't perfect, but you can kind of play around with it that way so that you can get rid of those crossover lines if you do not like them, or if you don't want to have to erase them. So those are a few of my favorite brushes. This is another thing that I get questions about, and I've tried different things over the years. I used to have a grip right here. This Apple pencil, which is the original one, is a complete circle, where this one has this flattened part. And if you press on this, it will switch you from your brush to the eraser. So I think you have to tap it 2 times maybe, and it'll switch you back and forth, if you can see that up here. I probably use this by accident more than I use it on purpose, and so it probably could be really helpful if you got used to it, but for the most part, I do it on accident. So I don't always use this, but it does have this flattened part if you are using it with this with this Apple pencil. Now, this one is one that I took off because it got really stretched out. And like I said, I've used different things over the years. I've used just a grip. I think I've used a different kind of sleeve like this. And the one common theme with all of them is they get stretched out. And so you can see here, this one is kind of pulling down here, and then it's got all this extra space up here. And so it kind of came to the point where it wasn't really helpful anymore for me. It was just kind of getting in the way. But they are relatively inexpensive, so it's not something that I mind having to replace. I don't remember the price, but as you can see, this was a 2-pack, and I never opened up the second one. So for the price, I mean, it's definitely fine to have to replace every once in a while, but just know that if you are looking for something like this, let me show you what it should look like. So that actually took me a good amount of effort to get this on, so I will probably just leave it on now. But I just wanted to show you the comparison because this one, it's really nice and fitted, and there's not really extra space up here. So just know that, like I said, the common thing that I've had happen with all of the different types of Apple Pencil sleeves or grips that I've used is they have all stretched out. Now, another question that I can just super quickly answer is how to make your own Procreate brushes. My quick answer is simply that I just don't know. I've never made them, and that's why I do not have any tutorials. So I definitely stick to hand lettering on the iPad. If you are looking to learn how to hand letter, I have a free hand lettering mini course that you can find at howtohandletter.com/mini course. And if you are specifically looking to learn how to hand letter in Procreate, I actually have a full Procreate hand lettering tutorial. It is fast, it is full, it has a lot of things in it, so you may have to watch it a couple of times, but I believe there are timestamps in the description box of that video. Either way, that video has a lot in it for hand lettering, specifically in the Procreate app using the iPad Pro and the Apple Pencil. So another question that I wanted to answer is if there is a different stylus that you can use if you don't have the Apple Pencil. I personally have never found one that I recommend. I'm sure new things are always being created, so there may be some better options out there for you. But I personally have found the Apple Pencil to be such a great investment when it comes to hand lettering. And the main reason is the pressure sensitivity of the Apple Pencil is just great. So I can create my letters using that brush sensitivity where I have thick downstrokes and thin upstrokes. So I just personally don't have any other recommendations. I think that the Apple Pencil is a great investment. If I had to choose getting the iPad Pro and not being able to get the Apple Pencil, I would probably just choose getting this iPad and then purchasing the Apple Pencil, because this iPad was about $329 when I got it, and then the Apple Pencils will run you probably around $100. Always that could be changing for sure, but I would probably choose the smaller iPad with an Apple Pencil. Then I would choose this. That's specific to me because I use these for art and hand lettering. I do not do a ton of other things on my iPad. So if you are somebody who uses this for school and work and a bunch of other things, maybe your decision would be different, but that is just the case for me. So I hope that that was helpful for you. If you have had any of those questions about iPad lettering or lettering on the Procreate app, if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I will leave my iPad lettering playlist for you, as well as some helpful hand lettering videos and free resources that I have available for you in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.